Hello and welcome back to another video series of mine. Yes, I have not died in recent weeks. I just took a longer break than I probably expected. And I want to start a new game. A really complicated game that I nevertheless, or probably because of that, like very much. Stellaris, which, if you haven't heard of this game before, is a 4X space game. That, if you're somewhat familiar with 4X games, like, let's say, Master of Orion, it's a little bit more complicated than those, but it's not the most complicated 4X on the market, but it's a pretty interesting game. It's also a paradox game, which comes with its own perks and idiosyncrasies, let's call it that, because it's still being actively developed. Like there's a horde of DLC for it that introduces additional stuff, and there's even some coming out in the upcoming months, so it's not by large finished yet. But it also means if you want to have everything, you're not just looking to buy the base game, but you're also probably going to spend about 100 to 150, maybe even more at this point, of euros on all of the DLC, which, you know, might be a little bit of a hindrance. But the base game itself is fine, and if you like it, you can always just add more stuff later, which also helps because then you don't get overwhelmed by a lot of the mechanics happening at the same time. So there's that. I rather enjoy it, and let's start a new game. In order to avoid that I don't just have to talk for like half an hour to explain basic mechanics, I'll be very brief. I'll just very briefly go over the guys that we're about to play as, the Divine Penuri Empire. So let's actually take a closer look at those. I think the most interesting information is the one here in Government and Ethics that basically describes how our government works and how our people as a society tick. Basically, the games, you can set your race's ethics as a set on these 2D sliders here, which basically say, for instance, if we're very militarist, or if we're rather the pacifist on this axis, or if we're spiritual or materialistic on this axis, if we like aliens or if we don't like aliens on that axis. And I'm going to go into more info on that probably later when we meet some other aliens, and just go into some of the stuff when we know how the game works at that point, hopefully. So for now, let's just say we're a little bit spiritualist, but we don't like aliens very much, because we're both xenophobe and we're also very pacifist, so we prefer to just be left alone by everybody else, you know? Seems reasonable, right? Just leave us the hell alone. Our authority is set as imperial, so we have a ruler that has a designated successor that becomes the new ruler. All of that gives us basically an interesting empire title, which I haven't played as before, a Celestial Empire, because we're a hereditary monarchy where the ruler is kind of seen as a child of heaven and is largely pacifistic and isolationist society, which we need to have these very specific combination of stuff in order to be. So that sounds at least interesting. There would have been other choices, like you can have, you know, the democratic elections and all that, and all of them have benefits and also issues, so we'll talk more about that later. Let's instead talk about civics now, because there's a lot of kind of government traits that you could select, but as you can see from some of them being grayed out, it doesn't mean that I haven't bought the DLC for those yet, but it rather means that I don't qualify for them. For instance, we can't be a technocracy because we're not materialist at all. Like, why would we be a technocracy while also being spiritualist? That really makes no sense. We're probably gonna do a lot of focus on research regardless, but we're hardly, but our government is hardly being dominated by it. But what we are being dominated by is our focus on inward perfection, for which we both need to be pacifist and xenophobe. And it has quite a lot of effects. Most of them are diplomatic limitations, because we really, really want to be left alone. So we don't want to have anything more than necessary to do with other alien species. So there's a lot of treaties and stuff that we can't do. Or we do get some pretty hefty bonuses for being that. And while some of the civics we would be later able to change, we actually cannot change out of inward perfection. There is a however, that we're gonna be speaking in, I don't know, 10, 20 episodes or something. So there is a way out, but we'll get to that at some point. Basically, if we don't fulfill the requirements anymore, like let's say we were suddenly deciding we were not pacifistic anymore, it would make no sense for inward perfection to work anymore, because, you know, we don't fulfill the requirements, so there's a way out of that. So, okay, I got into that now. Sorry, I was trying to avoid details. Another interesting thing about us is that we are a syncretic evolution. So basically, sometime back in our history, before we became a spacefaring race, there were actually two somewhat intelligent races on our planet. There was probably a big war at some point, and then obviously we, the smart guys, won out. But the other guys were still being left alive, you know, because someone has to work mines and farms and stuff like that. So on top of our own species, which is intelligent but weak, we also have a secondary species that we can see here. We'll see them later. That is not quite as intelligent, but you know, they're strong and they're doing a good job in mines, you know. So it's gonna be interesting to see to manage that, to have basically two people and then split jobs, so that you know, our smart guys don't have to do the stuff that the other guys are more effective in doing, which seems like a pretty good idea to me. So I would like to try that out in this game. Anyway, good. Let's keep it at that in terms of explanations. Now we also have to set the game. If we go to default settings, I think medium is a little bit too big, because there's just such a huge universe to explore, which sounds fun in the first place, but would take a very long time to actually pull off. So we're actually going to go to small. I really don't like advanced AI starts, but alright, let's allow for one advanced AI start. We're probably able to figure out which one of them that is going to be. Let's keep it at basically the default settings in terms of Fallen Empire's Marauder. Let's keep the rest similarly, though I would like to change the start year for the endgame slightly back, and then also that slightly back. Let's say that. Although 2575 is probably way too late. I can end this series whenever I like. Anyway, regardless. Let's kick up difficulty a little bit, and I think then we shall just hyperline density. I want to reduce hyperline density. The idea is that if you've seen the new Master of Orion, you're already familiar with the concept. If you're not familiar with this game in the first place, but basically, by reducing the hyperline density a little bit, we can still get around, but there's some pockets that make large areas more easy to defend, because you don't have too many connections going on, and then you can you know, cordon something off and don't have to put defenses around everywhere, hopefully. So let's do that. All right, let's head in here. In the years since the first primitive Penuri communities took shape in the dry canyons and mesas of Civasia, our civilization has spread and prospered. There was much darkness and sorrow in the early ages, as our people frequently gave in to their base instincts and turned upon one another. Then suddenly the clouds parted and a light from the heavens appeared, shining down upon the one who would become our first celestial monarch. We were united at last. Now, after the discovery of Hyperline Network, the finest minds of the Divine Penuri Empire have finished development of their first hyperdrives. The stars themselves are finally within our grasp. Ha! Great. Alright. Before we do anything, literally, there's a few things that I wanna do. First, policies. We don't want that. We only want to be going into defensive wars. That's fine. That's fine. We want to have peaceful first contact, but closed borders. I think I want the extra boost from nutritional plenitude, though we do have to provide the additional food, obviously. But I think it's worth it. Basically, policies are things about how our society works that we can change every 10 years if we choose to. So they can give us some small boost when we feel like we have enough food to last. So let's actually take this small pop growth speed bonus here for the additional food upkeep that we need to maintain. Mixed economy is probably fine for now. It gives us some we have no modifiers if we're in a mixed economy, but we can choose to have a more militarized economy where we get more alloys from certain jobs, and from others we get more consumer goods from certain jobs, but it's fine the way it is. Our trade policy, however, is going to be focused not on wealth creation, but rather on marketplace of ideas, which gives us unity, which we'll get into in a moment. We don't want robotic workers. Outlawed. We're spiritualistic, you know. We don't want robots running around because they're soulless, you know. So, but we also don't want slavery either. There's really no reason to have slaves. We just don't want to have any people here in the first place, you know. All right, that's about that. Alright, I guess the next we can set is... Do we have something in species that we can set? As you can see here, we have two species, both our main guys, and then also, obviously, our not-so-smart secondary guys. What are their rights? They have residence rights. So, they only have residence rights, they don't have full rights, they cannot, you know, interact with our politics in any way. They are second-class citizens, you know. I know it's a bit mean, but yeah, they're stupid. So that is not a really good reason for anything, but you know. But we have no population controls. I wanted to check that because I do want them to grow, because we do also want to have them on other planets should we discover those. All right. If I wanted here, I could up the living standards a little bit, which would make people happier, but we would be running into consumer good issues, so let's not do that, actually. Alright then, so let's set our research. We also have research that we can do. Research in this game is interesting because it's not linear. You don't have a... well, you do, in fact, have a kind of a branching tree like you have in, let's say, Master of Orion, which I'm probably going to be using for comparison purposes a lot. However, the technologies that were offered to pick are basically chosen random from everything that's available to us. So sometimes it might be that we're looking for something very specific, but we're just not getting it because the game decides to troll. So, let's prepare the sword for that. Let's actually start with that. Always good to have quantum theory, you know. More food. We don't really need food right now, and I do love Unity. Also love more society research, though. That's kind of, you know. Let's get society research first, and let's also get engineering research first. All right then. We do also have ships. Right from the get-go, we do have some military ships orbiting our space station here. We're probably not going to move those around much in the first couple of years, but they're there. Then we also have a construction ship that can, you probably guessed it, that can be sent out to construct things. Like we have built some orbital stations around some of the planets, like around this volcanic molten world. We already have built an outpost, but not among all of our planets. So let's actually send this guy here. Can build a mining station, and most importantly, our science ship we're gonna send out now. We're probably gonna be spending most of the time in this game, not in this, you know, systems screen, but rather in this galaxy-wide screen. Alright, taking a look at our surroundings, does seem like this is already a dead end here, which is nice. I'm gonna be taking a look at what's happening over there later. For now, we're gonna be just trying to explore our surroundings without going too deep into surveying stuff. And I would also like to have another of these science ships. Get on that, please. Alright, now we can go. Okay, Crown Prince Marcus Aurelius is a new heir, okay. Why not? So we have a leader, Gaius Aurelius, and apparently he already has an heir. Leaders also have certain traits that might benefit certain things, so there's that. But since we don't have too much choice between what our persons are gonna be, it's not gonna be too relevant. Okay, we're not gonna explore this system. I would really like to find out what is going on, if we can form some pockets somewhere, so we're just gonna move on.
Construction complete.
Alright, the other ship is ready. Before we can send out the ship, we need to hire another scientist for it. Survey speed, I guess, is not too bad. Already have a blue guy, so again, I'm guessing we're going for survey speed. Don't have enough energy, though. Well, that's a bit of a shame. But we can just sell some of our consumer goods to our local market and say, you know, I like that energy. And I guess we also need to sell some of our food, but it's fine. All right, now we can immediately hire another guy. Yes. All right. While this guy will be very focused on figuring out what's happening all around us, we're going to be using this guy to find out. I'm probably going to referring to most of my ships as this guy, you know, just because I'm very creative and all that. Going to be using this ship to figure out if we have a colonizable planet in our immediate surroundings, because this system did not have that. We're probably going to have to take control of that system at some point. I just want to see if any of the systems along the route has planets that we want to expand to first. So far, does not seem very much like it. I do like that we have kind of have our own interior pocket here, but it makes a lot of other things more complicated later down the line. Alright, this system, for instance, has an arid world that's pretty decent in size. I guess we're gonna survey that entire system. So now we just send our science ships in there, not really doing anything. But before we can take control of the system, they need to basically go through all the individual planets and objects in this system to figure out if anything's dangerous going on there. So you're also done with that. I guess you can then build that because you're right next to it. Meanwhile, we're taking care. Encounter some form of strange alien vessel in the Terrell system. Strange objects have been masked as Terrell until we can learn more about them. Basically, there's an uproar following the news of unidentified ships sighted in the void. Intentions unknown. Would be prudent to assume the worst. Obviously, they're aliens. Okay, but it's just a station and not really a ship, so we're just gonna go on our merry way. We could now spend research points to basically investigate them a little bit more, but we do have more important things to research, honestly. And research is going to be taking a hell of a hell of a time anyway, so I'd rather not be distracted by something that we don't really need right now. But apparently we're not alone in this big whole universe out there.
Initiated.
And there's another one. Alpha Menace. Alright, let's get out of there. It's a little bit annoying that we have hostile contacts here, but at least it's also going to block off possible other visitors from over there, because a combat strength of 500 is not something that we can deal with right now, but so will the other people. So
construction
we do at least have that going on, so that here we do have kind of like blockers in place already. Alrighty, you're also done, and we have enough resource for more, so let's continue building research stations, and then after that you can also Where's the last one? Over there. Alright. Good. How's exploring that system going? Pretty well. I've recovered artifacts from alien civilization on Oquilon 2, so that's that over there. What if translated so far of the language, we've learned that these aliens called themselves the Eurasian Concordat. They were interstellar power that held sway over the region of the galaxy a little over 1 million years ago. They appear to have been 6-limbed mammalians, and there are several references to some sort of plague called the Javorian Pox, which swept across their empire with a devastating result, possibly leading to their extinction. Interesting. This begins our precursor event, which is basically an event chain that will unlock further during our initial phase of exploration. Getting this specific one is actually pretty good. Oh my! Speaking of pretty good, that's a pretty neat system. One of them is a desert world, which is good for us because we like dry worlds. The other one's not that great, but might be able to use them later. So that's pretty neat. I guess you're gonna be spending some time surveying the system, though we're probably not gonna take control of it for a long time, but know there's a blocker here at least. So let's hold on to our horses for a second. Alright. Good. Do we have anything more we want to do? Actually, there is something we can probably do. I don't have 1,000 of that yet. Never mind. We can also boost the growth rate on our planet, but we don't really have enough food for that yet. However, we should prepare for our next population unit appearing at some point. Because right now we do have jobs for everyone, but that's gonna change in the not too distant future. Maybe we want to do something about that, but we don't have the minerals. Alright, not enough minerals. Alrighty. So, there's a few basic resources that we have. Already kind of used them without explaining them. Energy, basically, you know, is really the most basic. I used the market earlier. Whenever we do transactions in the market, it's first exchanged for energy credits. Let's talk about Unity real quick. I was just starting to go down the list, but let's jump from the left to this one arbitrarily, which is Unity. Which is kind of a measure to unlock new traditions, which we've just been able to. On this screen, when we have unlocked enough Unity, we can basically spend it to advance further into various trees that give us benefits in some measure. Just adopting one of them gives us some bonuses, like adopting expansion, for instance, gives us bonus speed when we develop a new colony, which is normally gonna take a huge ass time. So with 25% modifier, it's a little bit less than a huge ass time. And also, if we adopt all the following traditions in a specific tree, we also get an additional bonus. Like here we get an additional district, which we haven't talked about yet, but we also get a special Ascension perk, so we probably want to be focused on not adopting too many traditions at the same time, because the Ascension perks are really good. So I would rather like to finish up one of them as soon as possible. To me, it's always a little bit of a tie-up between Discovery and Expansion, because the bonuses in Discovery we'll be using a lot right now, because we're going to be surveying a lot of objects in our incursion out into space and all that. But it's gonna be taking a while before we've gone through the entire tree, and Expansion is of a more immediate benefit. So I'm actually gonna go Expansion. Oh, I always wonder if I shouldn't go into research first, but I always wonder that in 4X games, you know? Shouldn't I focus even more on research than I already do? Answer, probably. Anyway, the second most important commodity is minerals, which we need to use to build
System
things
survey complete.
on planets and also space and also space stations within a system. So we're going to be using a lot of that for just those purposes. Then food, obviously we need to sustain our people. Oh, apparently this outpost figured out how to speak to us on our own. Good. Fine. A visitor. Oh, this is the joyous occasion indeed. Oh, forgive my manners. I believe introductions are in order. We are the Artisan Troupe. Members have dedicated their lives to the pursuit of art, music, culture, and other things which makes existence bearable to a sapient being. Please, if you would like to share in one of our creations, don't hesitate to contact us. Yeah, that's why I
Construction complete.
bother spending resources on that, because they probably figure it out on their own, and it's not really something that we want to be doing right now. Anyway, food, we need to maintain our population. If we have excess of that, we can boost population speed a little bit, but not too significantly. Alright, we could take control of the system, but other than the pretty decent planet, there's nothing in the system that we immediately need. So I'd rather not. Basically, we're gonna need more unity the more kind of things we have under our control. So if we remain small, we have certain benefits there. I'm going to be going over that and the main mechanic behind that, Empire Sprawl and Administrative Capacity in a moment. But we're going to be focusing on what's known as a tall build, which means we're not going to spread out too much across the universe, but rather be in a very specific localized area and just tech really hard. We're not going to be doing that for now. It's just taking just a huge ass time because it's very difficult, so let's leave that be for now. But there we found some anomaly that our researcher was asking if he should investigate it by now. If we should investigate it, but didn't seem that important. There's nothing going on here. Okay, it's a bit of a shame. If any of our neighboring systems do have significant resources, I might just take control of them. Like Trappist has pretty decent amount of energy credits and minerals that we could take control of, but Uquilon doesn't. We're probably going to be taking control of it soon due to the planet, but you know, we don't need that right now because we're still a bit off from building our first colony ship. Anyway, then going on further down the resources, there's consumer goods, which also our population needs in order to, you know, remain entertained and all that. Also, some jobs are going to consume that depending on what they do, but like right now, our population has grown and our people would like to have something to work. Thankfully, now we also have minerals to spend it on stuff. And I would like to have a temple, if you don't mind. Because it turns consumer goods into further unity and society research. So, I'm going to be having that. Can't be a divine empire without temples on every planet, come on. That would be just wrong. That's decent sized planet, but only only size 15. Not too great. Let's just continue exploring, seeing what we find. There's another station over there. Why does Artisan Troupe have 2 stations? Seems a bit excessive. I don't remember seeing that before. 2 space stations by the same minor civilization. Oh well. Okay, Frari also has a planet, but it's a tropical world, but it's pretty big. Which is not bad, really. Let's survey that system. Alright then. The next resource is alloys. We're going to be needing those a lot for building ships, and also we're going to be needing those for the space stations that are located in the middle of the system. That here is already being improved just to also be a star port. So it's not just a star base, but also an improved one that has additional module slots and stuff. We're also going to be needing alloys for that, not too much, but what we're also going to be needing for star bases is influence, which is basically a measure to how much we can motivate our people to just do stuff. So if we were doing diplomacy with other people, like let's say we had treaties going on, then we would need to continually spend influence on that in order to uphold that. But we don't want to do too many treaties, so that's not too much of a problem. I am still going to be picking reach for the stars in our expansion tree, so that when we start building star bases we need less influence for that, because we can also do other stuff with influence that I'll be getting over later. So it's good if we don't have to spend too much of that, because it's a rather limited resource. Alrighty, we already talked about Unity. Then the next one, research, is not something that we use up or that's being saved. It's just accumulating, and then in the text screen here, slowly being used. We don't have any exotic materials yet. And here are some interesting things. Like, I already talked a little bit about the how much do you want to expand kind of strategy, which this game calls Empire Sprawl, which basically, depending on how many systems you own, how many colonies you have, how many districts on a specific planet you have, you generate Empire Sprawl.
Construction complete.
And you have a certain administrative capacity to basically utilize all that. I'm gonna be exploring that because it's an arid planet that we want to be taking. Anyway, we do have a slightly higher administrative capacity than we would normally have because we're pacifist, but still, administrative capacity of 40 is not really that much, to be honest. Probably by just taking control of this little area of space here, we'll probably just end up using that, especially if we also colonize a lot of the planets there. So that's that. Anyway, since you don't do anything right now, and this is an interesting planet here to colonize at some point, we're actually going to go and build a star base here. As I said, we need influence and also alloys for that. Alright, temple is working. Probably also gonna need more energy at some point, so let's also already start building a generator district. Also, people are gonna be needing more jobs. As you can see here, our secondary species, the Bibaki, are taking all the minor jobs and also all the farmer jobs and also all the technician jobs. So basically, all the low-grade jobs except clerks. And then we have a little bit more of a split here. No, actually we don't. So it's all just disciplinary work. Alright. Fine. But we have set to grow both. So also the Bibaki should also grow. We don't want them to just stagnate. We also want them to board ships at some point and help work on other planets. Probably still in farms or in mines, but you know. Alright, one of our leaders had gained a level. By just doing stuff, they slowly become better. Like our scientists for just researching, for just leading our research are also generating experience. But probably the people in our science vessels are probably going to be getting a lot more still, because they're actually doing stuff. Also have a governor that's managing our base sector. Cannot delete core sector. That's a shame, because the location is not ideal, to be honest, for a core
System
sector.
survey complete.
Alrighty, let's then go on here, survey that. And we got more Unity to spend, yay! I think we're gonna be starting to colonize our first planet very soon. So let's get colonization fever. Alright, you've built that. Let's Let's also build all the mining stations. Meanwhile, are we lacking something for the colony ship? We are not, actually. I should probably spend food on something. Anyway, we're gonna build a colony ship. And then we're probably gonna be colonizing this system first. The other planet is a little bit bigger, but the rest of the system is very uninteresting, so...
Construction complete.
Alrighty. Let's see. So far we've run into whatever that is, but we haven't seen any other spacefarers yet. Which, you know, is good. Maybe there's just no one out here. But as you can see, some lines are about to form. Like this system, for instance, is pretty interesting as a kind of shut-off point, or that too. But depending on where potential threats might come from, we could just put up our defense here and then just, you know, hide behind all of that. So let's actually survey that immediately, even though there's no planet here. Meanwhile, you can take care of the rest. Don't have too much of a spread here because we're really very much backed into our own little corner, which is interesting, at least. I'm not sure if it's great, but it's interesting. How great it is or not depends a lot on where somewhere around here we're going to be having some threats, because there's probably going to be some threats around there somewhere. Let's not kid ourselves. Alrighty.
Construction complete.
Alright, and you can take that system. In this game we'll probably try to remain close to, but close to our administrative capacity. Because, even though we can't see it here, going over the capacity slows down two things significantly that I want to focus on heavily. Which is Unity that we need in order to unlock something new, and also research that we need to research something new. And I would rather very heavily focus on that. But basically there's two main strats that you can go for. You can either be, you know, tall, you know, stray at the administrative capacity
anomaly found
limit that you have. Cool is that one. Okay, let's switch the strat out now. You can either stay at that, which is known as a tall build, or you can just expand however much you like, which is generally known as a wide build, because you just, you know, research and Unity accumulation is going to be taking longer, sure, but since you also have just more stuff, it doesn't really even out, but you also have other benefits like having lots of military power that is difficult to pull off for a tall build, but not impossible. And also technology is hugely important. So now we need to make a decision on where to go. Let's actually go here.
Construction
first.
complete.
Alright, mining stations. We're on the move, right? Alright. So you're already on the move. Also just colonizing that. Okay, so far no contacts. Let's just continue to move. Well, this one seems to be entirely cordonable off, unless there's... Oh, this seems to be just a neat little... Huh. That's nice. So if we take this point as well, and we'll also have this entire little bubble here for our own amusement, you know? Which is not bad. So, can we do anything more to increase that? No. Then I guess we're going to be going for more pop growth speed. And I think I would like to have another science ship at this point. So let's build another one of those. I probably want to build some more combat ships. Habitable World Survey. We now know without a doubt that a thriving biosphere is not something unique to Servasia, but both the scientific community and the public at large are eager to learn more about the various forms of alien life found throughout the galaxy. Efforts to catalog the life forms we encounter are already underway, but our xenobiologists have urged us to focus our planetary survey efforts on habitable life-bearing worlds. Sure. A commendable initiative. Sadly, I already scanned all these worlds which would have qualified, but there was at least one here that I haven't scanned yet. Damn it. Should have waited. I knew there was another reason that I wanted to wait. Gosh darn it.
Evasive maneuvers initiated.
Alright, there's something else happening here. On one hand, it's not too bad either, because, again, combat power of 905 is gonna be quite a hurdle for whoever's trying to come from this vague direction. So we have a very weak cordon off here too. So let's actually survey that. Immense rugged plains of shadow drift across Oku's once faced, are cast not by clouds but by sheets of organic material drifting through the upper layers of atmosphere, unhinged or rather jointed, allow for a small degree of articulation. Science officer is as yet unwilling to say whether these things are flora or fauna, or what possible purpose, if any, the elaborate shadow casting might serve. Alright then.
Construction complete.
Cool. I don't think we have a green guy yet. No, we do not, but he's old. Ugh. They're all really old. Well, don't have much choice, do I? Let's actually shift things around. You are gonna be led by this guy. Yeah, I know. Now we have no society researcher, which is not good, but we have just hired the new guy. Alright. Okay, this, I think, is still gonna be finishing up that, so you can just go all the way over here, which is gonna take a while. Interesting position, especially with that additional soft barrier here that we don't have to worry about for the moment. So far, we're in a really isolated position. No, let's not do that. Which is somewhat according to plan.
Efforts begun.
Colony ship has gently touched down at the top of a large, flat mesa near the equator of Baronic Prime. The location will serve well as the first landing site, and the rivers that flow in the canyons below provide easy access to fresh water. The ship is permanently converted into administrative headquarters of the new settlement, and its reactor core is in the process of being removed so it may serve as the colony's temporary power source. Hundreds of small tents and prefab shelters have sprung up around the former starship's massive hull as colonists begin to disembark in large numbers. First mineral city of an alien world. Yes. It's great, I know. Alright then. I could colonize another planet, but it's probably the only one that we're going to be colonizing for a while. System is neat, you know, long term, and it will allow us to make use of our rather small area rather effectively. So I'm not complaining too much about that, but we need to be able to turn these worlds into something more useful before we want to use them. Because the desert world is okay, but small, as I mentioned earlier. But the rest is really not that immediately usable at this point. Alright, we do actually have enough resources for another colony ship if we really wanted to push it. Why not? Why not? Build another one. And we're lacking.
System survey complete. System survey complete.
Right. Go over here. Alright, let's have another one. Let's actually buy some more of those, because I feel like we're really having issues with ships if someone just happens to stumble upon us. What was previously thought to be assorted mountains in the southern hemisphere of Ozellos 2 has been identified as a massive skeletal remains of a single colossal alien life form. Oh, oops. Bones have been dated as 3.4 billion years old, but our scientists have ruled out that Ozellos 2 could have supported life on that scale at any point in planet's history. Science Officer Hosta Musulus has prepared a special research project to delve further into this mystery. Okay. So there's a special project here, and also this very difficult anomaly. So let's take care of that project first. Normally you should still spread out a little bit more and investigate your surroundings, but since we can always do that later because there's no other entry into here other than the one we already know, I guess I can focus on just exploring stuff in the immediate vicinity for the time being.
We have mastered a new technology.
Alright. Let's... Yeah, I guess we're gonna be increasing our build speed a little bit. It's gonna become an issue soon-ish. Right? Probably gonna require more food in the near future. Alright, there's nothing here. Let's move on further. Let's try and find someone. So we have an idea on where to expect encounters from.
We have mastered a new technology.
Yeah, great. Great. This is all not very interesting, to be honest. I guess we're just gonna do that then. On our planets we may have blockers that kind of prevent us from taking care of some stuff. We can see them in the planetary features. Here. We can see that we have some blockers that kind of block our maximum number of districts. Basically, let's talk about districts real quick so that I can put it behind me. As you can see here, since this planet was developed long beforehand, it's kind of a mix of everything, like city districts where people can basically live, then generator districts where technicians can work to produce energy credits, mining districts to produce minerals, and also agriculture districts to produce food. We do have a limited number of districts that we can do. They're even lowered right now because we have some blockers in place that we need to deal with. Also, there's additional blockers here in the agriculture district that we need to clear, which are separate from these over there. So at some point we'll want to clear them, but it's not of an immediate concern. Either way, we'll probably have similar issues on our on our planet that's being colonized here. It also has some blockers. Also, planets
Special
have
product complete.
unique distributions of on what kind of districts they can use. Like Baronic seems to be well equipped for either something that's focused on food production or something that's focused on energy generation, but not on mining because it basically only has 2 mining districts. But this planet also has the same feature, so we also can't focus on mining there. Which is interesting, because so far the only planet we have that has some capacity for mining is our own home planet. Alright, I'm going to do the study of the massive of the massive skeletal remains on Ocelos 2 have managed to shed some light on how the creature ended up on the planet. There are faint residual energy readings that indicate some kind of dimensional portal existed briefly towards the rear of the skeleton. Science Officer Hostile Mustius theorizes that the creature passed through this gateway from another dimension only to quickly perish in the hostile environment of Ocelos 2. Why it did this and where it come from are questions that may never be answered. Do we really want to know the answer? Probably not. Alrighty.
Construction complete.
Let's actually check our pocket here. Well, there's really no reason. Continental, okay. Actually, I've changed my mind. Let's rather check what's going on there. I really would like to find out before ending up this episode where we can expect guests. We don't need the capacity yet, but we're going to be needing it soon. Right.
Anomaly found.
Our colony ship is about to be ready. Someone is not doing anything. Okay. Move on. There's another interesting desert world, but it's pretty far out and definitely not within our home sector anymore. Alrighty. Go over here and start colonizing that. So, 6-7. It has 7-8, so it doesn't really matter. Alright. As soon as these colonies are fully colonized and can actually produce something, I'm probably gonna be letting this planet focus on energy generation, while Ukolon will be focused exclusively on food production. There is a reason for why I would want them to be focused in one and not have everything, you know, just evenly spread out like our home planet does have for historical reasons. And for the home planet, I probably want to change that at some point.
Construction complete.
Alright, still haven't run into any ships or anyone. Which is super weird. Approaching Sinistra 2A, ISS Deodaro suddenly received a glancing hit by several passing mass driver rounds. Projectiles were billions of years old, and based on the trajectory they may appear to be stray rounds fired from a neighboring galaxy. After missing the intended target, they continued on their journey for untold millennia till today. Rounds were recovered. We have recovered of an advanced design despite their incredible age. Apparently someone didn't hear the speech in Mass Effect 2 that, you know, don't shoot unless your computer has a targeting solutions, because sometime at some point in the future those zones are gonna mess up someone's day. Good. Alright. Let's just move here for now. I'm not sure if I want to take it actually, or if I want to skip that for now, because the system is not too interesting. Okay. And with that, the system is actually pretty interesting, because the system also generates trade, because I guess there's something interesting that people want from there that's not energy or society research. Normally we wouldn't have access to it, but our initial starport here has a trade hub that increases the collection range. So basically something that's here that's worth trade, or something that's here or here would be automatically collected by this starport already, but not the two trade value here, because Baranik is too far out. We could just create a starport here at Baranik that could just collect whatever's going on here, and maybe we'll do that at some point. But right now there's not that much of a reason to do that. Anyway, during its survey of Sinistra 4, we discovered several exotic gases previously unknown to us. Gases have a variety of different uses, particularly in the operation of advanced energy-based weaponry and force fields. Some of the gases can also be used as starship fuel or even as recreational drugs. Oh my. While we don't yet possess the means to extract this resource, we should seriously considering establishing control of the system for future exploitation. Okay, so Sinistra has exotic gas. Exotic gas.
Colonization efforts
Best
begun.
kind of gas. Exotic gas. Alright, alright, alright. Still haven't found anything? Guys, what the hell is going on here? I mean, on some level I love it that we just have no other idiot to worry about in our immediate vicinity, but it's getting a bit ridiculous at this point.
System survey complete.
Let's just do that. Oops. But with nothing happening in this quadrant down here, it seems more than likely that there's probably someone just on the other side of these alien vessels, but we just haven't seen them because they can't pass through the alien vessels, which gives this system some priority at least to explore it, to be able to block potential incursions from there. And still nothing. This is ridiculous. Alright, I guess we're gonna build an outpost here. Alright. Do we need more buildings? Soon. Soon trademark. Oh, still nothing going on here. Can't pass through these guys here though. So we need to go all the way around in order to get back, but it's certainly nice to know there's nothing going on. There's a Savannah world that would also be interesting to colonize, but it's really far out. But it's an interesting point here nonetheless, so let's actually survey this entire system right now.
Construction complete.
And then I guess I'll just explore all of that here, which gives our science ships enough to do for the upcoming decades, probably. So I was trying to figure out where anyone was, and so far it seems like probably around here somewhere. But since we haven't run into anyone down here, as well, has some interesting ramifications at the very least.
System survey
Anyway,
complete.
I can start surveying systems, you know. Wanted to see if there was anyone to compete with us down here. So far, it's just a whole bunch of nothing. I mean, a whole bunch of space with some interesting stuff in between, but, you know, no particularly dangerous threats for the time being, which, you know, ain't too bad, but it's how interesting. Alright, but as a precaution we're gonna be fortifying this, we're gonna be taking this system and gonna be fortifying it very soon, because we want to be ready if someone punches through that. It's probably gonna happen before we are able to punch through that, but we'll see. Alright, that. Alright, I think this is where I'm going to be ending this episode.
Construction complete.
For now. We had a little bit of a brief overview of the game. Sadly, we haven't run into any aliens yet, but since we're very isolationist, I guess all is going according to plan, I think. We've started colonizing a bunch of worlds, and the first of one of them is going to become ready pretty soon. But we'll see that next time. Have a good one.